Hi everyone, welcome back to Art at Home, where we show you how to use things you may have around the house to create art that's inspired by a piece on display or in our permanent collection here at PAFA. My name is Morgan, I'm a museum educator here, and this week we are going to be doing neurographic art, which is a combination between art and mindfulness. Before we get started, let's take a look at what we need. The visual inspiration for this project is this abstract untitled sketch by Miriam Shapiro. Neurographics were created by Russian psychologist Pavel Piskarev, and he says that neurographics is a way of drawing that recreates the outer from the inner. Not only is this a really interesting way to create an artwork, it's also a great practice of mindfulness. Neurographics are known as a creative method of transforming the world. I'm ready to get started if you are. Let's go. These are the materials we're going to need for our project. To start, I have a piece of cardstock paper. You can use printer paper or construction paper, but because of the thickness of cardstock, I definitely recommend it for this. Next, we have a Sharpie. You can use a permanent marker of any kind or another black marker. I also have some colored pencils here. You just need any sort of colorful drawing utensil. You can use crayons, whatever you have. Now this is not really necessary. I have these circle templates here that I'm going to use, but you don't need them. You can trace things that you may have around your house or just really freehand the shapes if you want. And lastly, I have a placemat because we're using Sharpie, which can stain. As you can see, I've done quite a few projects on mine, so make sure you have something like paper or something to lay down to protect your table. Let's get started. Step 1, we have our cardstock and our Sharpie. I've zoomed you in a little bit so you can see, and I am going to do this in portrait, but you can do it in landscape. So you're going to see me just drawing lines all over my paper. I'm going to use some circles in here too. You don't really have to do that. This is where the mindfulness comes in. You just want your hand to guide your pen and be creative and do whatever feels right to you. It's okay if it doesn't look exactly like mine or whoever you're doing it with. So you're just going to do this all over your paper, but make sure you have some lines intersecting. No matter how you do it, you want to make sure you have some lines and shapes intersecting. Now that I'm happy with all of the lines that I've drawn all over my paper, I'm going to take a look at where the lines intersect. You can see this all over my paper. And wherever we see these intersections, we are going to take our marker, the same one I used for the lines, and I'm going to connect these little intersections with these little U shapes. We're going to smooth it out and make it look like it's connected in one place. So you can do it all at once and just shade it in like this. You also can just do them one at a time if you prefer, just like that. So I do one shape and then I'm going to move on to the next one and just color them in one at a time. I'm now just going to repeat this all over my paper. As we can see here, I've connected all of my little lines and where they intersect. I have a couple of messy lines here. You can leave it, but I like to smooth mine out. It's also fun to make some parts thicker and just adjust the shapes with your lines. So as you can see here, I'm going to smooth out some of my lines. After I've smoothed out my lines, I'm going to take a look at the border here. This isn't a necessary step, but it's something that I like to do to just sort of bring my piece together. I am going to connect my shapes to the border, and to do that, I'm just going to treat it like another line. This is one of the reasons why you want to have a placemat, because if you decide to connect your shapes to the outside border of the paper, you might get a little bit on the table, so I definitely recommend doing that. I'm just going to repeat this over the rest of my paper. All right, now we can see that my shapes are anchored to the paper there, and that I've connected all of my little lines and smoothed them out. So we're going to move on to the coloring portion. When I'm beginning to think through how I want to color this, I like to focus my colors in some of the bigger parts. So these circles, I am going to begin with my colored pencils in this large circle down here. When you're doing this, I just encourage you to be creative, use whatever colors you like and whatever pattern you like, and just repeat it all over your paper until you're satisfied with all of the coloring that you've done. So you're gonna see that I am just coloring all over my paper and I'm filling in mostly just these circles. You can just enjoy this clip of me coloring. I am just, like I said, starting in the big circles and going to work my way around my paper until I'm finished coloring the shapes that I want to color. I am just going to make my way around to the bigger circles on my paper, and I'll be right back once I've colored them. I have just finished coloring in my last shape, and so now that I'm happy with these parts that I've colored in, I'm going to grab my marker again and fill in any or all of these empty spaces with patterns. I'm just going to start here and work my way around my paper until I'm happy with what the patterns are looking like. You can even feel free to bring your colored pencils back in. I did this pattern and decided I wanted to make it into a checkerboard. So I am using my pencils again. You don't have to. You can use pencil on more of it than what I did. Just be creative and do whatever you feel like. I'm just going to finish up putting patterns in these spaces, and I'll be back to show you the final result. Ta-da! This is my final piece. I'll do a little close-up so you can see everything. And I've decided to fill in almost every little spot on my paper, so it's looking pretty busy, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. As always, be creative. Let us know if you try this out, and thanks for joining us. Bye!